Have you ever used the Telegram app? If yes, then you have probably heard of the Open Network, which is a super fast blockchain aiming to put crypto in every pocket. The Open Network is a fast, scalable Layer 1 proof-of-stake blockchain launched by the same people who created the Telegram privacy message app. For those who don't know what Telegram is, it is essentially WhatsApp but was created by the Russian Mark Zuckerberg, better known as Pavel Durov. Durov is the founder of both VK and Telegram, with VK being the biggest social media platform in Eastern Europe and Telegram being one of the biggest messaging apps on the planet. And I'm sure you can see why the comparisons to Zuckerberg exist. Though, unlike Zuckerberg's WhatsApp, Telegram had previously been banned in places like Russia, as Telegram had been a bit too good at blocking access to messages on the platform, highlighting Durov's commitment to privacy, which I guess does make him quite a bit different from his Western counterpart. But moving on, since Durov has already built a successful social media platform and privacy-focused messaging app, does that mean he can also make a successful blockchain? Today we find out. Toncoin was originally known as Gram and was created by Telegram in 2018. However, after being named Gram, but before being named the Open Network, Ton was also previously known as the Telegram Open Network. It hasn't been an easy ride for Ton to get established, as all these previous names might suggest. Having first been in development until 2020, Telegram was eventually hit with a lawsuit from the SEC for being a securities violation. Telegram appealed, though the securities violation was upheld, which resulted in Telegram paying back over $1.2 billion to investors and around $18.5 million in fines. Naturally, this left a sour taste in the mouth of those in charge at Telegram, and the project was discontinued. However, as the project was open source and available to other developers and enthusiasts on GitHub, it was not long before a committed group of supporters began taking over the development of the network. It was around this time that the name changed from Telegram Open Network to the Open Network to better reflect who was actively working on the project. Today, Ton is a high-performance, decentralized blockchain that claims to scale to over 1 million transactions per second if required. Naturally, if achievable, this would be one of the fastest blockchains on Earth. So, how do they do it? Having originally only been able to complete around 55,000 transactions per second back in 2021, yet in as little as 3 years they have been able to potentially increase 20 times their network speed, leaving almost every other blockchain looking silly as Ton blaze away with network speed progressions. How Ton achieved this is through sharding, which is not a process unique to Ton. However, the way Ton has been able to implement it has yielded incredible results. For clarity, sharding is a scaling technique that involves splitting a blockchain network into smaller, parallel segments known as shards, each capable of processing transactions independently to improve overall network throughput and efficiency. In short, by breaking down the blockchain into smaller blockchains, it is constantly able to scale to meet rising demand based on present user activity. Though platforms like Ethereum also use a form of sharding, yet they still experience network congestion, meaning they cannot scale to user demand. So how exactly has Ton achieved this? Part of what makes Ton unique is its multi-level structure developed on the principle of sharding. This principle uses multiple subnets on the same blockchain where every shard has a specific purpose. As such, each shard is unique and has its own data. It is these sharded subnets that have given Ton the potential to reduce latencies, avoid the buildup of unverified blocks, and increase the speed of the transaction process. Another unique feature is called the self-healing vertical blockchain mechanism. This is essentially a way for blockchains to deal with sharding scalability issues. To best describe it, it might be best to imagine a busy city train station. The best way to think of the self-healing process would be to imagine how train stations change the number of trains traveling and their departure frequencies based on how many people are expected to travel, such as during rush hour. The self-healing vertical blockchain mechanism is essentially that, an automated process that runs behind the scenes to keep operations moving by adjusting to the network's demands. As Ton is a proof-of-stake based blockchain, its currency can be used for all the classics such as payments, staking, and governance. Now here is where it might get confusing, as there is no initial token distribution for Ton despite being a proof-of-stake network. This is because Ton hasn't always been a proof-of-stake network. Ton was originally a proof-of-work network which involved mining to generate new tokens. Back in its proof-of-work era, 1.45% of the total tokens were mined by the team, and the remaining 98.55% was mined by early network users. The network would then change from proof-of-work to proof-of-stake in 2022. The original supply of TON was 5 billion, however, since the network has an annual inflation of 0.6%, this has increased to around 5.1 billion today, with around half of that making up the active circulation. Just to note, you will find on some crypto sites that there are 3.4 billion TON tokens in circulation. However, according to CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko, these are self-reported figures and they have both verified the lower 2.5 billion as a more accurate reflection of the number of TON tokens in circulation. TON has been a project in development for a while and despite all its challenges has continued to go from strength to strength, from being sued and dropped by its development company to being picked up and revived by enthusiasts. TON clearly has sincere and genuine supporters of this network who seemingly value it above all other layer 1 platforms. Although, I suppose if TON can achieve over 1 million transactions per second, you could easily see why. Currently it appears as if TON has everything going for it. It has a solid foundation, a committed team of developers, name recognition, and a recent spike in interest. Consequently, given how much effort these developers have put into the project after the platform was dropped by Telegram and how much it has continued to grow since, it wouldn't be crazy to imagine TON's best days could still lie ahead. Though, as always, nothing is ever guaranteed in crypto, of course. If you like to know how to create a TON wallet, check out my article in the description below.